Hey guys, Harrison here. Welcome to the Arabian Pleb. I'm a little bit tired. The the date is the 4th of June, Wednesday, the 4th of June. It's 8:13 p.m. I am bloody exhausted. Had a big last couple of days. What have I been doing? Today, what did I do? Had to do a job down in Byron Bay, had to do a repair, and then head back up to Tweed, swap cars with my dad. Because for those of you that don't know, I work for my father. He's got a little aged care supply business. So we, supply aged care facilities all up and down the east coast of Australia and elsewhere as well. So had to swap cars because I need his van, because tomorrow morning I'm going to be getting up at 3 a.m. So I'm going to be waking up in roughly 7 hours. Oh, God, that is devastating. To leave at 4 a.m. to head down to Coffs Harbour to meet my work colleague who's based out of Newcastle to deliver 2 products and then bring back get a bunch of stock off him and bring it back up to Tweed Heads. Anyway, that's going to be lovely. And amongst all of that, I am, as you know, as I've mentioned many of times, I am building a house, and the joys of building a house. It's phenomenal. No, it's great. It really is good, but it's exhausting. It's exhausting. To give you an example, my fiance and I were there at the property until about 1 hour ago, vacuuming up gyprock dust and crap and whatever off our beautiful timber floors. So that was fun. And then the vacuum cleaner shat itself, so we resorted to sweeping and breathing in a lot of gyprock dust. I wonder how harmful gyprock dust is to the human lungs. I'll soon find out, I'm sure. Okay, 2 minutes and 23 seconds. Let's go, Harrison. So I just thought, I was pretty tired, didn't really feel like doing this, but I went, fuck it. I've got to just, push through, get some shit out there to everybody. Because, I do enjoy doing it, and I would like to grow this YouTube channel, so that's what I'm doing. I'm going to have a sip of my drink, so bear with me 1 second. I'm actually just going to pull. All right, had a sip of my soft drink, and the name you shall not know, because I do not want to promote it or let you guys know what crap I'm drinking. But in the spirit of kicking on and getting through this thing and making it super entertaining for you guys, let's do as I love to do. Let's kick it over to the markets. All right. So I think last time I drew this channel. This is just like a parallel channel tool. And the last time I looked at this, it was a few days ago now. I probably should have gone back and checked, but am I in the middle of the screen there? Yeah, that'll do. But let me just adjust my chair. We had broken out of the channel, and then we kind of retested the top of the channel here. So if I zoom in a little bit further, I think it was this candle here. It must have been, it was Friday. It was Friday, I'm sure. I'll have to double check, but I'm pretty sure it was Friday. So since then, Monday had a nice positive candle here. So what's that? $5,128, and then closed at $5,201. So $128. Okay, like more than a $70 candle right there, and then a bit of selling Tuesday and today. So we're currently sitting at in gold. This is gold. Sorry, I don't even know if I bloody mentioned that. This is gold to the Australian dollar. So $5,185, 41.6 cents. $5,186 currently, so it's still trading. But so we've broken out of the parallel channel, downsloping consolidation channel. So let's see what happens. Keep an eye on it. All right, let's go to gold, try and punch through these things and see if I can find some other interesting things to talk about. Gold in US dollars, $3,359.39 to the cent. And look at this, because I remember Friday we were confined to the channel. We were inside it, so we closed $3,284 roughly, and then the Monday, boom, busted out of it. So let's see what happens. Let's keep an eye on it. So currently $3,359.68. All right. What do we got next? Silver in Aussie dollars. Okay. This is interesting. So if you remember, if you go back and watch my last episode of the Arabian Pleb, I painted this head and shoulders pattern, and not as a definitive, this is definitely going to happen, I'm so smart. It was just, because I just like playing around. My dad hates it. Sorry, Dad, if you're listening, I know you don't like people saying, and I think I did it twice just then, but yeah, I'll try my best not to do it. Sorry, Dad. So I had done this. I painted this head and shoulders pattern, this potential head and shoulders pattern, as a bit of a, oh God, did it again, as a bit of a test, as a bit of a just see what happens. It's not for certain, but anyway, so it looks like it's pretty much been violated. I believe the rules of the technical analysis trading game goes that once you bust above the right shoulder or break below the if it breaks below the neckline, which would be like, I'll just give you an idea. So if this is a head and shoulders pattern, that would be, the left shoulder, the head, the right shoulder, and then you got a neckline, which, I don't know, it's kind of a sloping neckline. Hey, get out of it. It'd be something like that. Sometimes you ignore the wicks if they're big scam wicks, but, sorry, Dad. But there you go. So it'd be something like that. So if this went like this, kind of something like this, and then busted below it, then it would be a confirmed head and shoulders pattern, and then it would be something like a measured move is kind of how a swing trader would play this. You'd be going, from the top of the head to the neckline, copy and paste. That's sort of, if you wanted to target, to trade it and find a take profit area, if you were going to short this, you'd be taking profit at roughly $41. So that's how that would work. So once it would break the neckline, it'd be like a confirmed head and shoulders pattern, and you'd be aiming down here somewhere to close your position. But get rid of that crap. If it goes the other way and you violate the right shoulder, I believe, double check me, then this is invalid. So I believe this is invalid. I may leave this here just I don't know, just because, whatever. So sorry guys, a bit tired, but so anyway, silver in Aussie dollars, $53.32. Let's go silver in US dollars, $34.53.6. And similar thing. Oh, no, this is more of a double top. That's right. This isn't a head and shoulders. This is a double top. And we're pretty much violated the double top. Not really, actually. Not really, because if, say, it kept selling, say we did even get a sell-off here, then it would almost be like a confirmed, it would still be a double top. It would be like confirmation of the second top. But if we can get any higher, then this would be violated as well. So silver in US dollars, $34.53, still trading. What else do I normally look at? Let's look at the Dixie, the DXY, which is the US dollar priced against a basket of other currencies. Can't remember which ones. Go look it up for yourself if you want to know. And this is looking like it's trying to confirm a double bottom, not a double top. So this would be like the opposite. So if it looked like this, that's your double top, one high and then a lower high. There's another one for you there, Dad. And the other way, if you flip this chart the right way around, then it's like one low and then potentially putting in a second low, which is a higher low, which would show more market participants than previous. So more people own this asset than previously before. So let's see what happens. Anyway, keep an eye on it. Potential double bottom on the US dollar, which is not what I'd like to see, as my father imports US goods and has to buy US dollars. So we lose money if the US dollar goes up and the Aussie dollar goes down. Let's go to the Aussie dollar priced against the US dollar. And it's pretty interesting, actually. It's just really skirting along this 64 cent ice line area, which is a pretty critical area. Kind of couldn't bust above it back in February, sold off majorly, touched the previous ice line, the next ice line, or one of it, which is 59 cents, and then really bounced hard off that, and now above the 64. So we're at 64.782 Aussie dollar cents to the US dollar. But yeah, I think this is a pretty critical area. I'm just sort of going back in history. There's been action. There's been action, guys. Professional trader here. No, not really. Not a professional trader at all. Just someone who is really fascinated by this stuff. And I love gold and silver. I think that stuff is real money. And all these paper currencies are a bunch of crap. And the governments inflate them and rob you. Effectively, paper currency is effectively a way that the governments can tax you without you knowing. They tax your purchasing power when they counterfeit more of them and dilute its value. There you go. There's a little libertarian rant for you. Okay, so yeah, above that area, that's nice to see. Hopefully it keeps going higher and the US dollar tanks. Sorry to all my... I don't even know if I have any, but if there are any people from the United States that are listening, sorry, but I hope your currency goes to shit. But I love you people, and I love your country, and I love your values and the whole idea of America. It's beautiful. Just your government sucks and bombs third world countries all around the world and kills innocent people left, right, and center, and supports Israel mass slaughtering innocent people in a tiny little enclave that are captive and aren't allowed to leave, don't have an airport, don't have a seaport, can't do anything without the IDF bombing the crap out of them, sadly. And also Israel wants the West Bank. They call it Judea and Samaria, and they're all just the government, not the people. The Israeli people, a lot of them are against this, but the government are a bunch of corrupt, criminal scumbags and want to just keep stealing more land. Okay. All right, Harrison. So I don't know how I got into that. Oh, yeah, the US government. Bunch of scumbags and support Israel doing all that genocidal crap. Okay, so the US 10-year yield. This is a United States government bond, and the interest rate you can expect if you loan the US government money for 10 years. So if you buy this note, this is the interest rate you can expect, and it's at 4.45%. It's pretty much been hovering around this area for a little while now. Not much else to report on. Let's see hang on, let me go back to it. If something major happens with the US 10-year yield, the US 10-year bond, then we're in for something. You know, if it collapses down, if the interest rate goes way down, then that means expect heaps more inflation. And if the interest rate's going way up, then yeah, the opposite, pretty much. The central banks around the world will be dragged kicking and screaming to raise interest rates, and it'll freak the hell out of markets all around the world. Okay, so the Aussie 10-year yield, pretty similar situation, although making lower highs. One high, second high, sort of confirms second high, and then a third high, and interest rate is going down. So that means that the price of this bond's going up. That means more inflation. So let's see what happens. But yeah, okay. So may as well have a look at Bitcoin. Bitty corn. And we just off the all-time high of 111,000. I don't know to the exact dollar. 100. Let's say 112,000 and change. We're back down to $105,803.24. This thing never stops, never sleeps. It's trading constantly. It's not like traditional markets where they close for the weekend and public holidays and whatnot. This thing just keeps on keeping on. All right, so let's just see what else we got. Hopefully there's some other interesting things to talk about. Damn it, I hit stop record. Anyway, whatever. I will paste this together in a video editing program, I guess. I'll just do one more thing because I am bloody exhausted, and I'm going to have to get up very early tomorrow, 3 a.m. Looking forward to it. But I thought I would just go through this article I found on ABC News. I'm not a fan of the ABC. I think it's a bunch of crap. And we are, as taxpayers, all forced to pay for it and fund it. And that's just sanity. I hate it. But anyway, whatever. Sometimes they have good articles. Sometimes, a lot of the time, they don't. This one is one that's going to infuriate the hell out of me. I'm sure. I haven't really read it. I just sort of skimmed through it and I thought, oh yeah, that's worth talking about. But so let's go over to it now. So this is the ABC. The ADF chief warns Australia must be ready to launch combat operations from home. I wonder why that is. I wonder why we haven't been ready to launch combat operations from home. I thought the only reason that a war would be just would be in self-defense. Seems as though we've just been going around the world invading third world countries at the behest of the United States for no good reason based on a bunch of lies and propaganda. For example, the Iraq War, the 2003 invasion, Saddam Hussein, weapons of mass destruction. Everyone knows that. It's just a fucking cliche, but everyone knows that was absolute bullshit and based on lies. Saddam did not have weapons of mass destruction that he was going to pass on to Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden and Ayman al-Zawahiri. That is all just bullshit. And Saddam Hussein had nothing to do with 9/11, so that's all a bunch of crap. And similar with Afghanistan, the Taliban had nothing to do with 9/11. It's all just fucking bullshit. And we fought a 20-year war with the Americans against the Taliban for no good goddamn reason. And sure, there's plenty to criticize about the Taliban, but one thing that is for sure is that they had nothing to do with 9/11. Anyway, so let's read this article. So by political reporter Olivia Casely and foreign affairs reporter Stephen, I can't pronounce that name, Dziedzik. Dziezik. I don't know. Okay, so Admiral David Johnson acknowledged defense spending had to be balanced with other government priorities. Okay, and this is the picture, I guess, of Admiral David Johnson. Right. So I'll read through some of the article. There's a lot here, I guess. Oh, there's not that much. Anyway, let's give it a crack. Okay, so I'll just readjust this mic. Australia's chief of the Defence Force, Admiral David Johnson, says the nation must be prepared for the possibility of having to launch combat operations from its own soil, a significant shift in military thinking not seen since World War II. I think that's an admission right there that every war since World War II has been unjust, a catastrophe, and illegal. But I will just go on. And you could even look into some things about World War II and see how a lot of that was unjust and illegal and war crimes committed. Just as an example, the Allied forces, the Western forces, the supposed good guys, are allied with Stalin. We allied with Stalin in order to defeat the Third Reich. Stalin. Okay. Speaking at the Australian Strategic Policy Institute's Defence Conference in Canberra on Wednesday, Admiral Johnson said Australia needed to reconsider how it thought about war, resilience, and national preparedness. Quote, perhaps finally, we are having to reconsider Australia as a homeland from which we will conduct combat operations, end quote, he said. Quote, that is a very different way, almost since the Second World War, of how we think of national resilience and preparedness. We might need to operate and conduct operations from this country, everything from our national infrastructure, our supply chains, end quote. Admiral Johnson also pointed to the rapid evolution of modern warfare, highlighting that military technology could become obsolete in as little as 12 weeks, as seen in the Ukraine conflict. Yeah, because Ukraine is getting their fucking ass kicked, dude. Fucking hell. And I feel for the Ukrainians. As the last thing I want to see is a smaller country get bullied around by a bigger country. But if you actually just take 5 seconds and understand the historical context of the war, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, there was provocation after provocation after provocation from the West, from the Americans, provoking the Russians, promising to bring Ukraine into NATO and moving Western military equipment to Russia's very near abroad. And from the perspective of the Russians, you don't have to like it, but it's just a fact that you put yourself in their shoes, and that is a massive threat to them. And anyone who knows anything about the Russian perspective and their sensitivity when it comes to Ukraine, the last 2 world wars, Russia was invaded through Ukraine. So have some humility. You can also you can hold two thoughts at the same time in your brain. I promise you, this is possible. I'm not a very smart person, but even I'm capable of doing this. I feel for the Ukrainians, and I feel for the innocent Ukrainians and the people who want to dig their heels in and protect their homeland. I get it. I totally sympathize with that. But the idea that Australians and any other Western nation for that matter should be supporting this policy that has just done nothing but devastate Ukraine. Ukraine is wrecked. Ukraine is absolutely wrecked. They had a deal on the table back in April 2022 that Boris Johnson killed, where the Ukraine and Russia could have worked out a deal and prevented so much bloodshed. And Boris Johnson convinced Zelensky to not go through with the deal, and look where they're at now. They're losing more territory, they've lost more provinces, and they're still going to end up having to make a deal with Russia. So this is all bullshit. And also just that little threat of, for anyone who is unaware, there's a tiny little threat of nuclear annihilation, because the Russians have more nuclear warheads than anyone else on the face of this planet, more than the Americans. So yeah, you want to go poking the Russian bear and make Putin and the Russians feel like that they're backed into a corner and that they're going to lose this war and that they're fighting for their lives. And what, they're not just going to unleash every nuclear bomb that they have if they feel like that their existence is threatened? Yeah, you got to be fucking crazy. Okay, and continuing. So, Admiral, read that. Okay, quote. So this is Admiral David Johnson. Quote: The cycle is somewhere about 12 weeks before tech investments become irrelevant because of counter strategies, end quote, he said. Quote, we need to be very clear about where we make investments in our technical capabilities, end quote. Johnson responds to US spending request. His remarks come amid growing international pressure for allies to lift their defense budgets, with US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth urging Australia over the weekend to boost spending to 3.5% of GDP. Asked about the national conversation around funding, Admiral Johnson laughed but acknowledged the strain on resources and defended the current approach shaped by Labor's recent strategic review of defence. quote, the Australian community wants education, a health system to look after the elderly, so making sure we do the best we can to present the issues of national security issues in our country, and we do that unambiguously and without avoiding some of those key areas of risk. Quote, frank advice is key, but knowing that's not the only issue the government contends with, and working with our partners, where are our common interests, where our interests intersect, so we can push outcomes that meet multiple objectives, end quote. Pressed specifically on Mr. Hegseth's request and the coalition's call for higher spending, he said it was an important debate and acknowledged the associated challenges. Quote, defense is fully expending its budget at the moment, end quote, he said. Quote, that's a good thing as we've uplifted our acquisition delivery. Our workforce is improving. It does put pressure on the budget. We need to make choices. We need to make choices on, end quote. He said it was, quote, helpful, end quote, that the government had moved to a biannual strategic review cycle, noting that it allowed defence to continually update its case about where resources were most needed. Quote, it's unlike in the past where the frequency of structure of reviews was an open-ended proposition, end quote, Admiral Johnson said. Quote, we need to come back, review the strategy and looking at the opportunities or where the investments are required, end quote. Admiral Johnson said he would continue to give frank advice to the government to inform its spending decisions, and flagged that Defence was working on a fresh strategy to be released next year. How much more have I got of this? Okay. Oh, God. Okay. Defence Minister Lash's report, blah, 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 blah. I'll just see if there's anything else worth mentioning. Okay, not really. Okay, so basically, he's making the case for increasing defence spending, and it seems like he's getting pressure from the Americans, specifically Pete Hegseth. So yeah, and maybe I'll just have a quick skim. Let me just see, because I feel like this is all aimed at China. This is all aimed at China, guys. And whatever, I know there's so many people who fear China. Let me just pause this for 1 second. There's so much irrational fear around China. They took our jobs. Well, they did, but it was because of the government. It was because of the government overtaxing you, overregulating you, and forcing the bigger players, the bigger companies, to hollow out their factories and offshore all that stuff over to places where there is less taxation and less regulation. So you can't have it both ways. You can't have high taxes and a lot of regulation and expect jobs to stay in this country. It's one or the other. But yeah, anyway, there's just heaps of propaganda around China and China being a threat. My nana says to me quite often, God bless her soul, I love my nana, but she says to me, she thinks that the next generation of Aussies will be speaking Mandarin, which is hilarious. I think that, not when I say they, I don't mean like my nana and her generation, but maybe it was the generation before her, but that was the propaganda around World War II is like, oh, everyone's going to be speaking German if we lose the war. So yeah, they love pushing that crap. But yeah, so anyway, China's not a fucking threat, dude. China's not trying. They're defensive in nature. They're not a military power that is building bases all around the world and trying to do things through force. They're trading with the world. China is investing in the world and trading, and that's where their power comes from. Not denying that they are powerful. They absolutely are powerful, but it's a different kind of power. It's not brute force power like the Americans, put it that way. So I will do. Let's just have a quick look at the antiwar.com headlines. Love doing that. It's good stuff there. They might even mention that yes, what is it? Admiral David Johnson and Pete Hegseth's pressure to for Australia to boost defence spending. Anyway, let's have a quick look. Let's just read the headlines and see if something jumps out at us. Let me just. Oops. Sorry, guys. Let me just increase the size of that. Okay. Israel kills 27 in new attack near Gaza aid site. Lovely. Christian Zionist, new director of US-backed Gaza aid fund. Christian Zionist, new director of USA-backed Gaza... of US-backed Gaza aid fund. Excuse me, guys. Amnesty to Israel, stop starvation of civilians as a method of war. That'd be lovely if they could stop starving innocent people. That'd be fantastic, wouldn't it? Be really nice guys if they did that. Ukraine launches attack on Crimean bridge. Fuck, another one. Senators push Trump to endorse major sanctions bill. Israel shells southwest Syria after rocket fire. Syrian Islamist leader Sharar to visit US to address UN. Hectic. I think, let me click on that because I'm pretty sure that is Mohammed al-Jalani. I believe so. That's Mohammed al-Jalani, dude, the former leader of Al-Qaeda in Syria. Great. Let's have a quick read of this. In December, after the Islamist Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, took power in Syria, the Biden administration lifted the $10 million bounty on the head of Ahmed al-Sharar, formerly known by the nom de jure Abu Muhammad al-Jalani. Sharar has gone on quite an effort to improve his reputation in the West and with the US in particular, distancing himself from his al-Qaeda past and talking about reconciliation within Syria, where he is now president. In September, he will be the first Syrian leader since 1967 to visit the United States. Sharar's visit was reported on Syrian state TV and was said to include a planned address to the UN General Assembly, given his relatively recent status as a highly wanted terrorist leader. It's likely to ruffle some feathers. I won't keep going, but that is classic, dude. Former leader of Al-Qaeda, now president of Syria, just rubbing shoulders, rubbing elbows with Big DT and Mohammed Bonesaw from Saudi Arabia. Okay. South Korea's new president to seek talks with North. That's good to hear. Iran. US nuclear proposals include ambiguities. Yeah, I don't know. US launches 2 more airstrikes in Somalia. Longest war in America's history is the war in Somalia, longer than Afghanistan now. US warns UK, France not to recognise Palestinian state. All right, and that's all the headlines for antiwar.com. Go check out antiwar.com. They do fantastic work. That's, I believe, the main guys who write the articles are Dave DeCamp and Jason Ditz, and there's a few other guys, and I think Scott Horton's still the some sort of a director or sort of running the show over there. That's it for me, guys. Please like, please share, please leave a comment, push back, argue with me, whatever, all that stuff. That'd be great. Check out my friend's podcast, the Waking World podcast with Tobias Nuttall and Dale. They're great. Check out my other podcast, The Great Retardation, with my good friend Cosmic Surfer, and that's the Great Retardation YouTube channel. Follow me on X at Arabancap. ARABANCAP. And that's probably it, I guess. All right. Thanks, everyone. I hope you're well, and I hope you're not as tired as me. All right. Peace out, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.